Another review from last week, we learned a forward crossover and backwards, which I just call a pass forward and pass back. It's easier for me to remember that one. Started from our guard position, as usual, right? Our good guard position. This time, it's like like a natural step. We're going to take our back foot first. We're going to step forward of our front foot. We're going to bring the back foot up, and we're going to end up right where we started. There we go. And we want to go backwards. We do back, and we go this way. So, remember I was saying, what weapon, if you were fencing and you did that out on the strip and I pulled out a yellow card, what weapon would you be fencing? That's right, against the rules in saber, right? So I tell saber fencers, who are nothing but saber fencers, don't even practice that, you know what I mean? If you say forward crossover, if we're doing, complicated footwork with some advanced people, you tell them that, and they just make an advance. They don't even do that, right? Okay. So here we go, on guard. So let's try that. So pass forward. That's good. You can always do it in the other weapons. Then pass back, backwards, right? And end up in that nice balanced position again. Then pass forward. There you go. And pass back. And advance. And retreat. And a large advance. Although we got so close, we really want to get out of the way and get some better distance. Let's do a pass back. There we go. We're back here, right? And a small advance. And a small retreat. And two advances. And one retreat. And relax for a second. Okay, very good. Now, we did some good things with the tempo, right? I mean, we were going slower. Or faster. We were moving bigger or smaller. Now we can even do things in kind of minimal. We can cut things in half instead of making a full advance or a full retreat. This is new from last week. We can make a half advance or a half retreat, okay? So to see then what it would look like, I'd be here, and notice my balance when I do it. When I go make a half retreat, a lot of people like to do this. They go, and they're kind of leaning, right? All I do is move my foot back. That's it. So I'm here. I'm going to take a step back, but I haven't finished it yet, right? And it's very small, too. It's to here, like I'm going to make a small retreat here, but I haven't finished it yet. So that's like the half one, right? So there's a half retreat, and then back. Right, so we'll go on guard. So let's try that. So we'll just do this. We'll go half step back or half retreat, and then recover back to your guard. Right? And again, half step back, and recover. And a half step back, and recover. And a half step back, and recover. Very nice. So let's try with the front foot. Same thing. I'm gonna pretend like I'm gonna move forward. So I make a half step forward, but I don't go anywhere. And I recover. I'm gonna make you think like I'm gonna make an advance. And I do this. I go half step, but I don't finish it. And I go back to here again. So that's kind of faking you out a little bit, right? So now to really fool you, I do this. I make a half step forward. And then instead of making an advance, I take my back foot and I step back and I make a full retreat. So it looks like this. I go here, and then I move back. So I make a half step forward, and then with the back foot's going to move first this time, and I step and I make a full retreat. And relax. So you can see how now I'm really kind of faking you out a little bit. I make you think I'm going to move forward, but I go back. Or I make you think I'm going to go back, and I step forward. So now you don't know what's going to happen now. Is he really going back? Is he going forward or back? I mean, I don't know. You really have to keep a close eye on it. Okay, so back on guard for a minute. There you go. Looking good. Keep those knees nice and bent, right? So let's do this. Let's go. Half retreat. And recover. Half retreat. And now with the front foot, step forward and advance a full step. Advance. There you go. Half step back and advance. Half step back and advance. Half step forward and retreat. Half step forward and retreat. Half step back and recover. Half step back and recover. Half step forward and recover. And shake it loose. And you can see how all of a sudden everything's coming into play independently. This guy's moving, maybe this guy, maybe a foot here, maybe this goes forward, maybe they both move, right? So for just a second, go to your on guard position with your hands on your hips for a second, right? So how do we do this? You look online, and if you go to I think there's this video called like the Italian plyometric exercises or something, and you watch those guys, and they're always practicing these independent things all the time. They're here, and they do things like this, so you follow me, they're going forward here. Right, now go back, or maybe they do this. Right, now go here, or maybe they'll do this. Right here, and they'll do this. Here, or maybe this. They go that, over here, or maybe this. Right, or back to here, or maybe just this one. Right, or these. Or here, or here, or here, or here, or here, or here, or here. Right, see, so you're always practicing moving everything independently like that. That's the way you have to think. Okay, we got those guys down. That looked pretty good. Oh, remember the one else one we talked about last week too that I'll bring up, and we're not really going to practice it, but all this is this. Remember what that was called? Good, because you're not going to use it anyway, so it really doesn't matter. But it's called an appel. A-P-E-L-L. All we did was hit the floor. Why? Because you practice going advance. Advance. You never. Dan wasn't here last week. Remember, we didn't get to ask him, why do saber fencers use an appel, Dan?
Saber fencers don't.
Well, well, we decided that it was used to distract your opponent, right? We asked last week, and somebody said, ooh, and they were right. So that's used for distraction. You're out there, you go, and then your opponent looks down at your foot because you made a thing on the ground, and you reach out, bang, you hang on it. Right? So,
And if you can do that, your opponent looks down to see what their foot's doing. You can beat them without doing that because they're obviously not very good.
there you go. So that's Dan's motto defense. So that you don't have